It's clear at this point this was not a satellite. It does a circle. It seems to fly away to the west and then come back directly towards them.
Mountains have long captured our imaginations with their towering peaks, hiding untold mysteries and secrets throughout the centuries. These isolated reaches and forgotten valleys hold the tales of lost treasures, hidden histories, and gateways to enchanted realms waiting to be rediscovered. Join us as we show you 20 mysterious things people have found in the mountains. Number 20. Stardust. In 1947, a plane named Stardust vanished in the Andes while carrying intriguing cargo and crew. But before disappearing, it sent a final cryptic message, Stendek, that has never been deciphered. Efforts have been made to decipher the message, but they have all been unsuccessful. The plane remained lost for over 50 years until wreckage emerged from Tupungato's glacier, launching an epic quest to locate its mythical content. Stardust was carrying diplomatic documents destined for the British Embassy in Santiago. These sensitive papers sent via King's Messenger likely contained important intelligence. Also on board were rumors of diamonds being smuggled amidst the cargo. Recovery of these valuables drove dangerous expeditions onto Tupungato's treacherous slopes. In 1998, climbers found a Rolls-Royce engine belonging to the crashed Stardust. By 2002, DNA tests confirmed human remains from the plane. But its coveted cargo stayed hidden in shifting ice. The legends around its secret contents, like diplomatic pouches, gold, gems, or cash, ignited hopes of unearthing buried treasure. However, despite many attempts risking life and limb, Stardust's wreckage remains lost to this day. The massive glacier conceals plunging ravines and hidden crevasses, hampering search efforts over decades. But the mystery still lures teams to comb the icy mountain, hoping to achieve what others barely survived. Number 19. Alien abduction in the mountains. New Hampshire's White Mountains hold breathtaking scenery for hikers and outdoorsmen. But in September 1961, one couple passing through encountered something far stranger than nature's beauty. Their bizarre experience put the White Mountains on the map for extraterrestrial activity and remains one of America's most infamous cases of alien abduction. That fateful night, Betty and Barney Hill were driving south on vacation after visiting Niagara Falls. As they drove through the remote mountains, mysterious lights in the night sky began trailing their vehicle. Pulling over to investigate with binoculars, to their shock and terror, the couple realized the lights came from a flying, saucer-shaped UFO hovering directly above them. Barney hastily got back in the car and attempted to drive away as the silent craft started descending rapidly toward them. But then both Betty and Barney mysteriously fell unconscious. When they awoke, they found themselves 50 kilometers farther down the road with 2 hours of time unaccounted for. The bizarre events of that night in 1961 marked the beginning of their journey to unlocking the truth of what happened during their blackout. Under hypnosis, the couple independently recalled being abducted aboard the UFO and subjected to physical exams by strange alien creatures. Both described the aliens as gray humanoids with oversized heads and bulging jet-black eyes. The beings communicated telepathically to inform the couple they meant no harm. However, the examinations still involved uncomfortable procedures probing their skin, hair, and teeth. To this day, it remains one of the most fascinating and mysterious UFO abduction cases ever recorded. Number 18. Men in the Mountain. Have you ever wondered where the US government would hide in case of a nuclear attack? Of course, they would have plans for such a situation. And the answer is the Cheyenne Mountain Complex. Hidden under 200 meters of solid Colorado granite and nestled behind imposing 23-ton blast doors lies the ultimate high-tech bunker for riding out doomsday scenarios. Cheyenne Mountain was envisioned as a top-secret headquarters to coordinate US air and missile defense in the event of nuclear Armageddon. Built to withstand catastrophic external assaults, the self-contained complex can support up to 800 personnel for a month, cut off from the outside world. Vast springs underlying the buildings allow them to shift up to 1 foot horizontally to absorb shock waves. In the 1960s, The Army Corps of Engineers blasted through the mountain to embed 15 three-story buildings secured behind those massive doors. The underground city contains its own water reservoirs, power plants, and climate systems protected against chemical and electromagnetic pulse attacks. The tunnel entrance is guarded by armed security forces ready to shelter America's military elite. Number 17. The Valley of the Headless Men. Located in the country's Northwest Territories, Canada's Nahanni National Park Reserve encompasses nearly 8,000 square kilometers of wilderness. But within its boundaries lies a troubled location known ominously as the Valley of the Headless Men. Making the moniker all the more chilling are the vintage stories of decapitated bodies discovered in the early 1900s. Far from urban civilization, this remote landscape was attracting gold prospectors and adventurers lured by the promise of riches. In 1908, an unlucky pair of brothers named Willie and Frank McLeod met a gruesome demise that would turn them into cautionary tales. That year, the McLeod brothers journeyed into the valley on a prospecting expedition and vanished without a trace. It was 3 years later when their headless corpses were discovered on opposite sides of the Nahanni River. A third headless body was also soon uncovered nearby, lending credence to sinister forces plaguing the valley. Speculation ran rampant about how the men lost their lives in such a macabre fashion so far into the wilderness. Some pioneering settlers spoke of an indigenous tribe known as the Naha said to populate the region long ago. According to scattered accounts, the Naha were ruthless fighters who would descend from the mountains to raid villages. But they mysteriously disappeared themselves from the area, fueling myths of their vengeful spirits haunting the valley. Other theories propose that the decapitated corpses could be the work of giant man-eating grizzly bears roaming the Nahanni backcountry. Not everyone is ready to abandon rational explanations and blame malevolent phantoms. But the origins of the headless bodies found over a century ago have never been conclusively determined. With no trace of the missing heads ever recovered, the riddle of the Valley of the Headless Men persists as an eerie, unsettled question mark lingering over the landscape's history. Number 16. Skeleton Lake. Of all India's natural treasures, few compare to the remote and serene Rupkund Lake nestled high in Uttarakhand's Himalayas. Known locally as Skeleton Lake, it hides a chilling secret beneath its calm turquoise waters. The frozen mountain lake sits 5,000 meters above sea level, surrounded by snow-capped peaks on all sides. But scattered at its perimeter lie hundreds of human skeletons, an eerie graveyard spanning centuries. The macabre site was unintentionally discovered by a British ranger in 1942. Making the find all the more unsettling was the excellent preservation of the remains. Flesh, skin, and hair still clung to some of the bodies. Forensics analysis indicates the skeletons date broadly from 850 AD to the 1940s, meaning people met their demise entering this lake for up to 1,100 years. What could have possibly lured hundreds of humans to an icy grave in this remote region of the Himalayas? The harsh terrains around Rupkund require at least a 5-day trek from the nearest village, but the revealing clues lie in the skeletons themselves. Anthropologists propose they belonged to a diverse mix of people, from locals to pilgrims to Mediterranean visitors. What dark events could have unfolded upon these lonely mountain slopes? The world may never fully unravel the circumstances that created Skeleton Lake. Number 15. Noah's Ark. Of all history's legends, few capture the imagination like the biblical story of Noah's Ark. Is there any archaeological find to the account of a vast ship saving humans and animals from a great flood? A discovery on Mount Tendurek in eastern Turkey may hold clues. Archaeologists used radar imaging beneath the mountain to reveal an intriguing artifact buried underground. The scans definitively show a massive regular structure over 150 meters long, resting deep below Tendurek's surface. Its proportions precisely match the dimensions described for Noah's Ark in Genesis. Even more compelling, Mount Tendurek is believed to be the final resting place of the real Ark following the flood. This suggests the discovery could be tangible evidence from humanity's distant past, confirming parts of the scriptural tale. While exploring Mount Tenduric is strictly limited, the location aligns with the Book of Genesis, stating the Ark settled in Turkey's mountains. Samples from the surrounding area also indicate sediments once flooded the region. Further geological signs lend credence to a colossal ancient flood affecting the mountain. However, controlled excavations are needed to definitively prove the origins of the giant buried structure. Securing legal permission has proved challenging thus far. But if archaeology can confirm its man-made design, it may push the Noah's Ark story into the realm of historical fact. Number 14. Passage to another realm. Deep within the rugged canyons of Nevada's Snake Range lies the foreboding Goshute Cave. This remote cavern system carved into limestone boasts striking formations but is no walk in the park to explore. The treacherous passages demand skill, nerve, and ample preparation to navigate the darkness and tight squeezes. But beyond the physical challenges, an intriguing legend shrouds the cave that sets the imagination aflame with thoughts of venturing into a passage to another realm. According to local lore, Goshute Cave was once inhabited by a mysterious group who seized and trapped any trespassers in its depths. One chilling tale tells of two maidens lured into the cavern, never to emerge again for years until mysteriously resurfacing with remarkable claims. They described spending the lost years in a realm adorned with lush fields, bountiful food, and vibrant flora and fauna. Their accounts suggested that Goshute Cave contained some portal to a parallel world or time distortion leading to another era. Perhaps the most disturbing reports warn of those who entered Goshute Cave to confront the shadowy dwellers, pursuing vengeance for kidnapped loved ones. But these search parties never returned either. They simply vanished without leaving a trace, suggesting some supernatural forces guarded the cavern from intruders. To this day, local tribes steer clear of the Goshute Cave entirely, avoiding its perplexing depths, rife with unusual occurrences. Geographically, the cave's isolation makes it plausible that unidentified groups could inhabit it secretly for periods. Miles of harsh desert surround the rugged mountains before reaching the nearest settlement. Number 13. Culver Hole. Wales' Gower Peninsula holds many wondrous sights, but none so mysterious and storied as Culver Hole. Tucked into a cliff 30 meters high on the coast, sits this peculiar cave concealed behind medieval walls. At first glimpse, the arched windows and doorways carved into the sandstone rock face appear as relics from an ancient era. But venture inside and you'll discover an unexpected setting interwoven with legends of piracy, smuggling, and intrigue. Culver Hole's idyllic coastal location lent itself neatly to secretive purposes over the ages. Originally, it likely served as a dovecote with hundreds of nesting boxes for pigeons, a valuable food source at the time. However, by the 18th century, outlaws and scoundrels had seized upon its potential as a concealed hub for their illicit activities. Some historians propose that a warren of tunnels once connected Culver Hole to the nearby salt house owned by the notorious John Lucas. This influential local smuggler used the cave to store contraband safely away from the eyes of the law. His pirate crew would transport plundered goods via a clandestine passage into the cave from their base at Salt House. Some reports even tell of a tunnel leading directly to the village church for discreet transfer of illegal wares. Centuries on, the shadowy tales of Culver Hole's past are still shrouded in mystery. Visitors are unable to access the cave's inner depths, venturing no farther than its narrow coastal entrance. When tides permit, they can glimpse the medieval stone walls from which smuggler John Lucas and his band of pirates once operated. Nowadays, only birds nest inside where ill-gotten treasures may have once been stowed covertly. The cavern's history remains obscured by time, but conjures images of moonlit fugitives and stolen riches secreted away. Number 12. Ancient human dwellings. Ethiopia's intense elevations make simply walking up a flight of stairs exhausting for many outsiders. Now imagine our early ancestors not just hiking, but living for 16,000 years straight at these otherworldly altitudes. This feat of endurance and adaptation is exactly what humans achieved in the Bale Mountains, according to astounding new archaeological finds. The remote Bale Mountains National Park sits at an average height of around 3,000 meters in southeastern Ethiopia. Parts reach up to 4,200 meters, making them some of Africa's highest summits. Temperatures plunge below freezing on most nights. But researchers have uncovered signs of continuous human habitation from 47,000 to 31,000 years ago, right on the park's chilly moorlands. The discovery upends conventional beliefs that people only thrived in lower altitudes closer to sea level in the Paleolithic era. In fact, these Ethiopian mountains represented the highest known site of sustained habitation by prehistoric humans. What compelled them to not just visit briefly, but create permanent homes at such heights? Some experts suggest it was to hunt unique highland animals like the Ethiopian wolves roaming the mountains. Number 11. Microscopic fossils. Antarctica conjures images of an endless frosty tundra battered by blizzards where little can survive. But tiny fossils recently found high up in the Transantarctic Mountains reveal that the continent once housed distinctly warmer environments in the past. The shock lies in where researchers discovered these traces of temperate eras gone by, not in oceans but far into the mountainous mainland. The fossils in question barely reach 5 micrometers long, microscopic marine organisms called diatoms. But their unique structure made them identifiable as species that only thrive in milder oceans closer to the equator. What were they doing buried deep in Antarctica's frozen peaks? To solve the riddle, geologists look millions of years into the past. Around 4.5 million years ago in the Pliocene era, Antarctica boasted a much warmer climate without its iconic expansive ice sheets. Sediment samples from the ancient coastal plains at that time contained these same tiny diatom species uncovered in the Transantarctic range. It indicates that microscopic organisms were originally deposited when what are now mountaintops lay underwater closer to sea level. But flash forward to 4.5 million years later, when Antarctica's temperature plummeted. Ice sheets formed and began expanding, displacing water and causing sea levels to rise over 20 meters worldwide. As the icy juggernaut bulldozed its way across the landscape down to the ocean, the seabed sediments got scooped up and pushed farther inland. This slow but unstoppable process compressed and accreted layers of earth upward. The tiny diatom fossils came along for the ride all the way from the shifting coastline to their current lofty elevation miles inland atop the Transantarctics. Finding them now high and dry in the mountains provides clues to Antarctica's once lusher environs that encouraged marine ecosystems. Number 10. Hidden Temple. Rising from the Ketahun region of Java, Indonesia is Mount Padang, the stuff legends are made of. Capping the summit are ancient megalithic ruins with colossal columns and stones that fit perfectly together without mortar. But the summit represents just the tip of the iceberg, or in this case, mountain. Archaeologists believe far more astonishing mysteries are entombed deep beneath Padang's surface in layers. Based on radiocarbon dating, the ruins atop Mount Padang only date back around 1,500 years. They consist of simple rubble walls and columns haphazardly stacked with no structural buildings or chambers discernible. However, experts posit that the ruins visible today were just the last phase of a much grander layered site that could be exponentially older below ground. Seismic scans and surveys of the mountain have revealed that up to 5 levels of structures and pyramids may lay hidden, the oldest potentially dating back over 10,000 years. This tantalizing glimpse into the past has researchers eager to excavate through the layers and reveal whatever tremendous monuments lie buried and perfectly preserved. Legend holds that long ago, an advanced civilization with immense capabilities was lost to time on Earth. Evidence scattered across our planet hints at their existence but is frustratingly sparse. However, unlocking Java's subsurface secrets could produce unprecedented insights into this sophisticated precursor society. Number 9. City of Petra. Hidden in Jordan's arid Arabian desert lies one of the world's most visually stunning archaeological sites. The ancient city of Petra was carved directly out of towering sandstone cliffs by the Nabatean people over 2,200 years ago. This mind-blowing feat of engineering created a metropolis with temples, tombs, and over 800 intricately decorated dwellings sprawling across the rugged landscape. Petra thrived as a trading hub from 400 BC until a major earthquake struck in 363 AD. After centuries of prosperity, the city was gradually abandoned and lost to the outside world. It remained unknown in the West until discovered again in 1812 by the Swiss explorer Johann Burckhardt. Since then, Petra has become Jordan's #1 tourist attraction. Visitors today enter the city through a narrow canyon called the Seek. The towering gorge features ingenious channels cut along its length to funnel flash floodwaters away from city streets. At the end emerges Petra's most iconic structure, Al-Kazne, or the Treasury. This massive Greek-style temple carved out of an imposing cliff face leaves all in awe. But the Treasury only hints at Petra's sprawling grandiosity. Further on lies the 8,000-seat Roman-style theater, obelisks, shrines, sacrificial altars, and over 90 tombs cut high into the mountainsides. Columns, reliefs, mosaics, and frescoes adorn structures displaying an amalgam of ancient Assyrian, Egyptian, and Greco-Roman stylistic influences. Number 8. The KAPILIKAYA tomb. Along Turkey's Mediterranean coast near the town of Karatas lies a fascinating peek into the ancient past. Dating back over 2,000 years is the mysterious KAPILIKAYA tomb carved out of solid rock. This enigmatic memorial blends aspects of classical Greek, Roman, and Persian styles into an imposing facade turned small inner crypt. But who built it, and why remains uncertain to this day. The most eye-catching element is the tomb's door, a 20-meter-wide facade ornately carved straight from the cliffside. Rows of life-sized figures resembling Persian guards flank a massive doorway. But behind the impressive entrance, visitors find only a tiny chamber large enough for one sarcophagus. This unusual contrast between outer grandiosity and inner modest size has researchers puzzled. Inscriptions attribute the tomb crypt to a Tarkasnawa king of the Upper Country in the 2nd century BC. But accounts of him are scarce, and the elaborate carvings differ from known examples of local Lycian art. Speculation abounds whether Persian occupancy or Greek building styles most influenced it. The eclectic blend raises more questions than answers about the coastal tomb's origins. Number 7. Rarest wild cat on mountain. In 2019, a remarkable wildlife discovery took place in one of the world's harshest landscapes. High on Mount Everest at an elevation of 5,200 meters, researchers photographed a solitary Pallas's cat prowling the barren slopes. This rare sighting was the first documented evidence of the wild cats inhabiting Earth's tallest mountain. Reclusive and elusive, Pallas's cats live across Central Asian highlands normally below 4,000 meters. Just under 1 meter long, their thick gray fur and stocky build insulate them against extreme cold. But it was a surprise to glimpse one surviving above 5,000 meters where the air is thinner and temperatures plunge to -40 degrees Celsius. Everest's extreme conditions make the sighting all the more astounding. The Pallas's cat spotted there endured brutal winds, scarce oxygen, and a sparse prey base while traversing the icy ridges. Yet somehow it has adapted to claim a share of the world's harshest habitat. The discovery expands our understanding of this little-known feline's capabilities. It also highlights how climate changes may pressure wildlife to expand their ranges toward more hostile environments. As warming impacts delicate ecosystems, even hardy species like the Pallas cat reach new limits to survive in dwindling habitable zones. Meanwhile, for adventurers, the revelation adds a novel element of excitement to Mount Everest's ascents. Scaling Earth's tallest peak just got more magical knowing that along the way, a mystical gray ghost cat might be gazing down from the boulders, enduring conditions at the planet's extremes. Number 6. Mystifying MAIJISHAN. China's Gansu province holds an astonishing array of Buddhist art immaculately preserved since the 4th century AD. These majestic 194 caves near the legendary Silk Road were cut into the side of a hill, and these MAIJISHAN grottos feature over 7,000 statues and intricate murals sprawling across the mountainside galleries. These masterpieces astonished researchers with their artistry and scale. But one facet of this ancient site retains its mystique centuries on: the mystery of the sandstone sculptures. The compositions gracing the MAIJISHAN caves utilized clay, limestone, and other local rocks. But interspersed are giant statues carved from high-quality sandstone whose origins remain unknown. This exotic material does not naturally exist anywhere near the mountain. Somehow ancient craftsmen obtained sandstone from far-off quarries and imported it to the site. But the transportation methods, exact source, and reason all still elude experts. The sandstone artworks contrast noticeably against the weathered cave backgrounds. Their surface resilience shows the material quality vastly exceeded the local stones. Seeking these unique properties, the builders were willing to undertake the monumental effort of hauling in these sandstone hunks from afar. In the absence of documented history, we can only speculate on how the sandstone made its way to MAIJISHAN across long distances many centuries ago. Perhaps the precious material held symbolic meaning or sacred purpose prompting the journey. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. This one came directly from one of our subscribers. He was exploring the Dolomites of Italy with a drone to capture unique aerial shots. But this drone made a chilling discovery after spotting something on the side of a mountain. Stone carvings are common in isolated mountains, but a carving this large of scale has never been found. It looks remarkably like the face of a troll etched into the mountainside. What do you make of this? How could anything like this be carved? Let us know your theories in the comments. Number 5. Prejama Castle. Imagine an imposing medieval castle embedded perfectly into a sheer limestone cliff 120 meters tall. Slovenia's Prejama Castle pulls off this gravity-defying and picturesque feat that leaves visitors awestruck. Built seamlessly into the mouth of an enormous cave halfway up the vertical precipice, Prejama is a medieval masterpiece, and officially the largest cave in the world, too. Historical records trace constructions on this site of strategic importance back to at least 1247 AD. The current castle layout took shape in the 16th century after an earthquake damaged the previous structures. Its robust walls, towers, dungeons, bedrooms, and armory adapt artfully to the undulating cavern interior behind. Legend has it the castle once provided a bandit named Erasmus with an impenetrable robber's roost he could secretively slip in and out of. But when Erasmus besieged a Habsburg commander, he met his end via a cannonball into the unsavory area where he sat. The fortification then changed noble hands multiple times over the centuries before public acquisition. Now Prejama stands as an epic cultural relic, offering exciting tours that transport visitors centuries back. Number 4. ÖTZI the Iceman. High in the Ötztal Alps along the Austrian-Italian border, an accidental discovery in 1991 forever transformed our understanding of ancient humans. While hiking at over 3,000 meters, 2 German tourists stumbled upon a mummified corpse preserved in the icy terrain. Scientific analysis later confirmed the body, nicknamed ÖTZI, was over 5,300 years old, providing an unprecedented window into Europe's Copper Age. The freeze-dried body was so well preserved that scientists could determine ÖTZI was approximately 45 years old when he died. The 1.6-meter man had brown hair, brown eyes, and type O blood. Sophisticated analysis also uncovered that ÖTZI suffered from Lyme disease, tooth decay, lactose intolerance, and genetic predisposition for cardiovascular disease. But how ÖTZI ultimately met his demise poses an even greater mystery. The Iceman suffered blunt force trauma under his left eye. An arrowhead was embedded in his shoulder, while cut marks on his hands show he fought his attacker. These clues paint a dramatic picture of ÖTZI's violent mountainside murder and hasty natural mummification. Number 3. The Mountain of Gold Congo. In the remote region of Luhifi, located in the South Kivu province of the Democratic Republic of Congo, something extraordinary unfolded. The locals stumbled upon an entire mountain teeming with gold. Men, women, and even children flocked to the site armed with shovels or just their bare hands, eager to claim their piece of this miraculous treasure. Videos flooded social media, capturing the fervor of the villagers as they feverishly dug into the mountain's depths, hoping to extract precious flakes and nuggets of gold. As word spread like wildfire, the gold rush intensified. Thousands scrambled to the small village nestled in the shadow of the shiny golden mountain. The influx of prospectors put immense pressure on the tiny settlement that lay next to the treasure trove. The provincial minister of mines recognized the need to restore order and protect lives while ensuring proper regulation of gold extraction in accordance with Congolese law. So authorities swiftly intervened, banning mining activities in the Luhifi area. One can only imagine the bitter disappointment among the people of Luhifi when this decree was issued. They had been living through something straight out of an adventure tale, a real-life El Dorado laid out before their eyes, the opportunity to uplift themselves from poverty by striking gold right in their backyard. But just like that, their hopes were snatched away when mining was prohibited on the mountain. Some speculate that the mountain of gold is merely an optical illusion or geological anomaly, leading to a cluster of fool's gold depositing there. Perhaps the vein of gold is minimal or already depleted by the vigorous mining. For now, the true extent of Congo's Golden Mountain remains shrouded in mystery. Number 2. Buena Picchu Stairs of Death. Adventure-seeking tourists routinely flock to the ancient Incan citadel of Machu Picchu, settled high in Peru's Andes Mountains. But few dare to conquer the steep ascent up Buena Picchu, the peak that towers above the city. Those bold enough to attempt this thrilling climb will be rewarded with magnificent views, and the chance to visit ancient Incan ruins, rarely seen by visitors. Buena Picchu measures 2,700 meters above sea level, a sheer 600 meters higher than Machu Picchu located at its base. The perilous trail ascending Buena Picchu consists of over 1,000 steps built by the Incas over 600 years ago. The uneven stairs carved into the mountainside are at times little more than a vertical rock face. The climb is strenuous, requiring sure footing, nerves of steel, and a complete lack of fear of heights. At one point at the stairs, if someone trips over, the death is certain. The risks don't end at the summit. A death-defying trail runs along the edge of steep cliffs to the Temple of the Moon, situated on one of Buena Picchu's lower peaks. Adding to the hair-raising landscape, there are few guardrails to prevent hikers from toppling off the cliffs. The Incan steps themselves barely cling to the mountainside, seeming as if they could crumble away at any moment. Number 1. Indian man trapped on cliffside. In a remarkable tale of survival, a young man was rescued after being trapped for 2 days alone on a cliff without food or water. The harrowing saga began when Babu and 2 friends embarked on a climbing expedition on April 2021 near Sirkaji, India. A shocking accident would leave Babu stranded on a narrow cliff ledge 60 meters up, unable to move for 48 hours. The 3 climbers successfully reached the top of their planned route, up to Charade Hill. But disaster struck on the descent when Babu slipped and became wedged in a tight cleft in the rock face. His friends' attempts to reach him with ropes and logs failed. Running out of options, they hurried down the mountain themselves to get help. Responders arrived to find Babu crammed sideways into a tiny crack in the sheer cliff, barely able to breathe. His legs dangled in the open air with no footholds in sight. Paramedics provided what aid they could from afar to keep Babu stable, but several daring rescue attempts still could not extricate the trapped young man from the precipitous ledge. As shocking photos emerged, Babu's predicament made headlines across India. He persevered for 2 days exposed to the elements, suffering from dehydration and exhaustion. All the while, he experienced the mental torment of wondering if each passing minute might be his last. Finally, a crew of Indian Army mountaineers succeeded in reaching him and hauling him to safety up the mountainside. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.